Hey guys, DestinyDragonGod here for a new sort of series, not really series, but it's in the title. I'm starting to review games now, or I guess I said I already was, but I wanted to wait till I finished the game before I kind of gave a review video. And I might not do that for some titles, I might do it for, I might not, may, depending on the game, how long it is and crap like that. But today we're going to be doing a review of Destiny.
Let's get started. Good weapon. Be safe.
I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Destiny series, the main series on the channel. One of the main series on the channel, I should say. It is closely reaching its, end point. The main series, I guess you'd say story point, or story part of the series is ending. I do have the House of Wolves stuff to do, and also the Dark Below stuff being the primary thing right now, and House of Wolves when it, comes out. And yeah, today we are just reviewing the game. We're not talking really about the controversy and stuff like that, which we'll probably get into anyway, because this game is full of it, unfortunately. So yeah, kind of just giving you a little bit of an insight before, the real review begins, what this is going to be about. I'm going to probably try to not have, or I like to have no spoilers in my reviews. And if I do have spoilers, it's because they're very, very important spoilers, or I shouldn't say spoilers, they're very, very important to the main point of this review. This one's going to be full of the spoilers, but mainly because of the fact that they're not really spoilers, nor are they really important, which we'll get into in a moment, because that's very strange. So getting on to the first part of this game, Destiny had a lot of hype building up to it, in the 2013, 2014 years. I was one of the first people on that bandwagon to get this game. I really enjoyed the E3 demo and everything else, and a lot of people were saying it was going to be crap back then. Didn't believe them, went ahead and pre-ordered the game a while before then, and was anticipating the game. Now, 2013, the E3 demo comes around. Game looks completely different from when it does now. Not in a good way at all, actually. It looks completely different in a bad way. And I don't mean graphically. Graphically, it's a beautiful game. You'll see environments that are beautiful. Key environments, really, that are... We'll get into why I say that in a minute, but key environments that are beautiful. Very different landscapes, actually. You have to admit, very different landscapes. And very, I guess you could say, somewhat in-depth weaponry. Now, it's not exactly as in-depth as a game like Battlefield, but you catch my drift when you'll see perks and stuff, and I get into that. So going on to more of the going back to the hype of this game. The game was hyped super high, with Activision being the main publisher of the game, Bungie being the developer, two prominent gaming companies that we all know and sort of love. We love Bungie, but, not many of us really loved Activision, especially with the Call of Duty thing. But anyway, we're going back to the whole selling point of this game. It was supposed to be this space exploration, new frontier game where you went out and basically with your friends or by yourself, and you basically pushed back the darkness that was going to lead in and destroy the world again, because the world had already been destroyed by the darkness previously. As you will know if you watched all the E3 stuff and crap I did before the game came out, that we are now like the Guardians afterwards, and we are trying to figure out how to stop the darkness from destroying us all again. Now, was the game like this beautiful space sim frontier game where you're going to go around the stars and fight for, the good of all and blah, 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 that? Hell no. It was nowhere near that. Anyway, we're going to get into why that is now. Why was it, this travesty, almost people call it, of a game, this traitor to the industry, and almost the turning point, I guess you could say, a really big turning point in the whole scandal of people believing marketing, really, because I know a lot of people have kind of wisened up after this release. Why was it like this? Well, leading up to the game's development, we will start with there before we even get into the gameplay aspect of it. This is going to be a long review if anybody's wondering. Getting into the gameplay aspect, or previous gameplay aspects, we already knew that the game was going to be... We did know at some point that the game was not going to have space combat, which is kind of the downer, the big downer of the game. Was how could you have a frontier new age space sim without, well, not really space sim, but first world shared world shooter thing without space combat in a sort of a space game? Well, they didn't really give an answer to that. And not only did they not give an answer to that, there was repeatedly instances where it was almost like they weren't even in touch with the community. Not even that, there were some times, a lot of times, where people just went and left the company, mainly Joseph Staten, the main writer of Destiny. And if I will probably link the video where we talk about that a bit. It's a DLC controversy video. That's the name of it. Anyway, I'll link that in the description below, and you can go check out all that mess. But yeah, we have writers, music, not Joseph Staten, Marty O'Donnell leaving, people like that. You know, it's kind of weird and funny. And that's when we were kind of figuring out that, oh, this game might not be what we wanted it to be, or might not be that game we were all expecting it to be. Now, it's a thing now, I would say. Take every game with a grain of salt, or anything someone tells you, I guess you'd say, that especially with business, with a grain of salt. Unless you have used that product yourself, because then you would know from a first-person perspective. Now, I did not know that. I played the beta, enjoyed the beta. Did I enjoy the full game? Yes and no. Now, we're going to go into why that is now. Gameplay-wise, is the game... It's a stunning, beautiful frontier-like game with I'd say 4 to 7 very different environments. And I say that because you can go to the moon, Earth, Mars, Venus, and the tower, which is really just Earth, but you're in a hub city. A very small hub city where you can... Yeah, it's pointless. It's a small freaking hub city. I don't even know why they included it in the damn game. Anyway, back to the whole gameplay aspect. What's the gameplay like? Well, it is a very fast-paced, similar, I guess you could say, to Halo, fast-paced game. In some instances, not really slow-paced, but where the fast-paced kind of ends is when you end up having to do things like put your ghost down for 15 minutes. Because, yeah, well, it's not really even time, which I kind of found a very unimaginative thing about this game. Everything boiled down in the story missions, as you'll see here, to just put your ghost down and survive waves of enemies. Even boss encounters were just kind of mixed in the waves, which sometimes was really bad. Especially when you saw missions like Strikes, where the actual encounter was just a boss fight that was actually sometimes fun. Although, Fogoth, you bastard, you can go rot in hell. Anyway, yeah, besides that fight, there was other fights that were just extremely fun to do. I find one of my favorite fights, which I know Xbox owners will not have access to, is the Undying Mind strike. It's a really fun strike. To me, it's just a firefight to the end, and it's really fun, really well done. Unfortunately, it's a DLC map, so you do have to pay for it, and that's where another issue will come into later. We'll talk. But gameplay, was it fun? The funny thing is, I actually had a lot of fun playing Destiny with gameplay-wise, I guess you'd say. It's a very fun game to me sometimes. And I say sometimes as it's not an interchangeable word here. It needs to be said sometimes, because the gameplay gets stale a lot. It's not that it's not diverse. It can get like Call of Duty almost sometimes, where it's not really you're just sitting there shooting generic enemy A and 1. It's not like that, you know, how Call of Duty has that problem. It's more like these enemies don't really offer you much in terms of AI. Sometimes when you crank the AI to hard, they actually do smart things like think and, you know, go around, flank you sometimes. And then there's sometimes when there just be like set pieces on a freaking movie screen where your job is to walk through this path, shoot enemy A group, shoot enemy B group, and they kind of just stay in their own groups and don't move around. And it's kind of like, okay, this is really just not boring, but, you know, why? It could have done a lot of stuff. Then you come to big set pieces where there's just like stuff in the back of the maps that's never used, and it's like, well, we could have been sent here. Not to mention that, there's like other things with gameplay where it just doesn't make sense, which we'll get into with story stuff. Now, going on to the story. How is the story? It's effing atrocious. I hated every part of it. I love the Grimoire cards, which you have to go and read on the internet. Sorry. Yeah, you got swindled on that deal because there is no story for Destiny. Haha. And this kind of seems like a bad review, and yeah, it is kind of it is a very good and bad game in ways. It's a very eye-opener game, I'll just say. But going back to story stuff, not getting off topic. Story stuff, it's just effing atrocious. Why would you have just random set pieces like I'll show here?
The ghost is dead, but I can still read some of its memories. The Hive are raising an army here. preparing to invade Earth. We need to stop them.
You're not fighting the army, you're fighting Crota. Because, you know, we shouldn't worry about that huge army under the Hellmouth. We should stop them, even though your ghost specifically says we need to stop them. Anyway, with my Arnold Schwarzenegger voice there. I'll be back. Anyway, going on to more story stuff, it's just there's random gaps in the story where it feels like people left out a bunch of explanation, and sometimes just they didn't even add another story arc. There's a lot of times where there's just arcs in like Venus and the moon where you're just sitting there kind of like, what's next? I mean, shouldn't we have done this instead of that? We're kind of going on random missions, even though they are technically side missions. They don't branch anywhere. They're dead ends. Dead end to the point where they leave you with cliffhangers. That's kind of a really bad dead end, if you know what I mean. Where your side mission cliffhanger moment ends with you not doing anything the next mission about that side mission cliffhanger moment. It's a very unconnected game in ways. That's where I guess you could say like that. Story becomes boiled down to just go to point A, go to point B, put your ghost down, listen to him say some stupid BS, and then go to the next point. Listen to him say some more BS, and then your mission's done, and do the same thing, rinse and repeat 50 other effing times. And you'll probably see this in my review, not review, but you'll probably see this as I do this live stream coming up, probably this week, depending on when this episode comes out. But yeah, I will be doing a live stream on the PlayStation 4 of me playing through the entire campaign, kind of showing how easy it is to do the campaign fast. I'm going to just go through the entire campaign all night, and it's probably going to take me, I guarantee, about 6 hours to do. About as much time as it takes, I think, the Order 1960s. I don't know what the heck the game's called, but yeah. It's a very imaginative campaign story, but it's a very undeveloped way of doing it. There's no real reason to actually pay attention to the story except you're shooting this alien in the face, and that's why you should be doing it, because you're shooting him in the face and it's fun to shoot aliens in the face. A lot of times you actually kind of feel like the bad guy in some senses when you're just killing swallowing aliens for no effing reason other than the speaker, the main guy in the story, kind of, that you only see once and says, I hope you are the chosen one, so to speak. And you only see once and you're kind of like, well, this means I should go kill everything. I'm given this God-given right by this guy to go kill everything in the world without asking a single damn question as to why I am doing said task. But I digress. Gameplay was fun, story was horrible. Let's go on to the multiplayer aspect, because a lot of people will have gripes with games, but come on. A lot of games I play, I try to get the co-op experience, because I've gotten to the point now with games where I get bored sometimes when I play by myself. It's, you know, one of those things. Is you kind of want to play with other people to get their interactions and their funny things with other people, with, you know, your friends. You want to see their experiences and have fun with their experiences. Now, does Destiny have that? Yes. Does it have it a lot? No, because there's only like 2 activities that actually do this. I'll get into the second one, which is the main one, in a minute, but the first one is really just kind of hanging out in the hub, which a lot of people would say, well, how is that really a task? Really, just the hub is a 2-story platform place where you can go do nothing and talk to your friends. Actually, it's really just there to gather with your friends, which you, once you realize you don't even need to go to the hub for, becomes completely useless. The only reason you also go to the hub, which the Kid 50 figured out, Jordan, that you don't even need to do anymore. You can go switch your weapons out and trade in your engrams, which you need to go trade in your engrams there now, but you do not need to switch your weapons. You can get an app on your phone and literally switch them in-game, so you never have to worry about going to the hub. You can also get with your friends in space. Also, spaceships have become completely useless in the game. You are now going to use a spaceship to get to point A to point B. When they said you could not do space combat, me and Jordan are probably doing another video right now about what there's ways they could have done without space combat to make the game at least, you know, useful in some ways. There was completely no use for spaceships, and it became down to just this spaceship looks cool. Let me change it for this ship. Let me change it for that ship. There are no bonuses. There are no good points. There are no freaking add-ons for ships. There's no customization. There is no reason to customize a ship. It is a ship that gets you from point A to point B, and there is no way you are not getting from that point A to point B, because the game did not want to put enough effort in to actually install some sort of ship-like management system, even without flying, but we're going to get in that in another video. Anyway, going on to back with the hub. The hub is completely useless in ways. It's just there to look pretty, and there's a lot of section off parts that we kind of glitched around and found there's like fully rendered parts of the tower, considering there's the door to the left. If you enter in the tower when you first start out and go to your immediate left where all the where there's the person that sells you shaders and the speaker is, there's a big door there where there's a fully rendered half of the city behind of it. Not really half of a city. And that's another thing. There were kind of so many miskept promises in this game that it was annoying to freaking listen to them spiel some more BS at us, considering that the entire city was supposed to be a hub. There were districts in the city. The tower was supposed to be not just a point, but there were supposed to be faction-made towers and stuff like that, special parts where only you and your faction could get into.
Welcome back.
Special spots where you and your clan could get into, and only like you would have, I don't know if you'd have a room or nothing. They didn't ever say that, but they did say there were special sections. Not to mention that you were supposed to be able to roam the city, go to the bottom levels of the tower, meet maybe vendors that weren't exactly supposed to be, you know, the best. Maybe like Zer would have been in the slums of the city when you had to find him, and he would have been like completely sprawled around the city. The city was supposed to be massive. There was also supposed to be more than one effing hub area, because, you know, that small ass hub would never count in a game like, you know, World of Warcraft or something. I'm just using it as a reference because I don't know any other MOBAs or MMOs. I know World of Warcraft is not a MOBA, but anyway. Yeah, it's a very small hub city, you know, anyway. It's completely useless. So going on off that topic, what else does the game have that's redeemable? I said that's another special place where you can get with your friends, because I said I like co-op experiences. Looking for a co-op experience, you need 5 other people to do it. My bad, my number is messed up there. 6 total, but you will be included in that equation. They are known as raids. The hardest difficulty in the game, the hardest challenge in the game, in some ways, until you reach the max level, and then everything becomes rinse and repeat easy with your friends, but that's okay, because it's still with your friends sometimes. The problem became that it would basically make other things useless, and I'll get into that in a minute. But the raids were the fun thing and the best thing to do in the game. They challenged you, unlike the other experiences. Even strikes sometimes didn't challenge you. Most of the time they didn't. It was go in, kill a sponge-like boss that soaked up damage like a freaking shower mat, and then you were done. And that was it. The strike had no story references or anything like that. He was dead, you won the fight. Anyway, going on to back to the raid. The raid, was it fun? Effing yes, I had so much fun the first time I played Vault of Glass, which I'll probably show you right now, but Vault of Glass was really fun to play. I had my 5 friends. We had to figure out how to get through different points, and you know, you could call your friends up that might have been in another raid team as you guys were trying to figure out how to get past this objective or get past this thing, because there were it didn't exactly tell you how to do things. It just told you, oh hey, this popped up, should I go to it? Maybe. And you go up there and get killed by it. You never know. You have to figure it out. You kind of have to use your brain, figure out why enemies were spawning in certain places, why this was happening. How could I damage this enemy with an overshield, a freaking Templar? I swear to God they buffed his health. Anyway, going on to other things. Was the raid fun? It was fun. I've said that multiple times now. It is fun. It's the best experience you're going to have in Destiny, the raid. The problem is you need 5 friends to do it. Now, to that extent, they have been working on trying to get matchmaking in the raid. Me and Jordan have talked about this, and also we've talked about it with our other friends. It's a good idea. Honestly, I could not really tell you the best, if it's, you know, the best idea or the worst idea. I would say implement it as an option, but not as not as something you have to do, like how the heroics are now. Because if you don't want to do it with a random person, because that's the problem with raids. Raids are extremely hard activities, and how I said they are centered around more of your friends. You need to be able to talk to each other, because if you're not able to communicate, even though they have that option where you can communicate, if you're stuck with a troll, you will not be able to pass the raid. Raids are centered around team combat. If you are not a team, you will not be able to pass a raid. The only raid you can do solo is Crota's Inn, which is the DLC raid, and even that is extremely difficult to do solo. The only point of a raid is to do it with your friends, to make everything easier and to have a good experience. So, when they throw a bunch of random people in that experience, is it fun? Yes, it is fun. It's the best experience you're going to have in Destiny, the raid. The problem is you need 5 friends to do it. Now, to that extent, they have been working on trying to get matchmaking in the raid. Me and Jordan have talked about this, and also we've talked about it with our other friends. It's a good idea. Honestly, I could not really tell you the best, if it's, you know, the best idea or the worst idea. I would say implement it as an option, but not as a maybe. Well, it just depends. Like I said, if you have a troll with you, you're gonna hate everything about it. But if you have a guy that's actually trying to finish this thing and get some gear, then yeah, you will have a fun experience. As long as this person is not a noob and is leeching off of you all the time. God damn it, Jimmy. Anyway, going on to after the whole co-op experience. How's the multiplayer, the PvP experience? PvP becomes very stale after a while to me. I mean, I guess you could make your your own complaints and your own ways and saying, hey, it's not that stale. You can play this mode and that mode. What is it? Control is pretty much conquest for Battlefield on a very small scale. It's pretty much domination, and there's no static changes to maps. I feel like there should be, considering how Destiny is. Not to mention you can't shoot. Not to mention you can't advance on some things where you should be able to, like how I should be able to shoot through a window seal on the moon that's broken into already. But an enemy if he has high caliber rounds, can do it like without even thinking about it. And I've gotten killed by this multiple times. There's a sniper rifle that shot me through a rock, a building, and I'm pretty sure it was another person. But, you know, that's just the perk system. Anyway, going off of the multiplayer, because, like I said, the multiplayer becomes to me stale, but I'm not a multiplayer player that much. But you can have fun in it, I will say. It's a very, like I said, it's a fast-paced action sort of experience. You will have the same feeling as you play Halo that you probably do with Destiny because of that. More on the PvP side, maybe not the story side, but yes, the PvP point, it is very similar to a game like Halo. You are going to be in those fast match skirmishes where one move will pretty much dictate if you die or not. Sometimes it's really just if your weapon is good, which we'll get into later, but there's also some things you have to do, like manage your shield. Your health does regenerate, but your shield and health bar are virtually the same thing. You don't know which one is healing first. And sometimes if you have bonuses, the other will heal faster than that one will. And sometimes you need to monitor other people's armor, because sometimes it does matter actually. Like Titans, if you max out your armor stat, I have noticed it does matter sometimes. Only if you have armor that actually helps with armor stats. It doesn't matter really. It's just like 2 bullets more. Anyway, going on to the next point. How is not multiplayer? How is the gun making? Yeah, let's go on to guns, because that's really just the other last point of the game. How is guns in the game? Well, guns actually is done relatively good in some ways and bad in a lot of other ways, especially when you get to the highest tier of weapons, and we'll talk about that later. Now, first let's talk about the fact that, you know, when you start off with a white weapon, which is the tier, there's white, green, blue, purple, and gold, or yellow if you want to put it that way. How are the tiers different and how are they useful? Well, white tier weapons cannot be upgraded, and they're pretty much just the weapons you get at the beginning of the game. They're useless to a point, and then they're pretty much you just dismantle them when you're done with them. They're trash weapons. You use them to test to see which weapon you're gonna like the most. Pulse rifles, the weapon you have access to at the moment. Pulse rifles, hand cannons, auto rifles, semi-autos. I guess you could say scout rifles, shotguns, or all those are as your primary. Your special, which is your secondary. Shotguns, fusion rifles, which are charged weapons, not submachine guns, as I thought previously, and sniper rifles as your special. You also have for your heavies, rocket launchers, and heavy machine guns, belt-fed heavy machine guns, which I'm very a fan of, because belt-fed heavy machine guns, those things are awesome sometimes. Anyway, going back to the weapons, go to green tier, you get 2 to 4 upgrade. You get like 1 major upgrade and 2 sight advantages, which kind of gets you into that point of, oh, I can start editing my weapon to see how I like it. Really not that much, because you have 2 sights. Generally, they're both similar to the point where one is just 2x, the other is 1x, and I'm referring to the zoom rate, not exactly the actual sight itself. But no, they can sometimes be the exact same sight, just a different zoom rate, which can be annoying but useful. Other times there's just extreme variations where you might have a sight similar to an ACOG to a holographic sight, or a literal just a different iron sight, which sometimes gets annoying, because sometimes iron sights there's the iron sights that's really good, and there's the worst iron sights in the game. Yeah, I'm looking at you up for anything second sight. Anyway, go to the next part of weapons, which is the blue tier weapons, where you get a lot more editing and stuff with your weapons. You get different barrels, ammo types, and sights. It depends on what you have, because those all three are in the same type of tree, but yes, you can get various types of upgrades with that, between aggressive ballistics and things like that, and not soft point ammo, that's planet side anyway, control ballistics and stuff like that, and other sights that increase your stability, to your reload, to everything like that. But what I must find very annoying sometimes is that when you get upgrades that are pretty much just the same thing as the previous upgrade, or is completely useless to the type of gun you're using. Especially when it's a preset upgrade, like you get this weapon as a legendary, which we're going to the next tier now. It's a legendary, so you can buy it or you can get it randomly. I would honestly advise farming and buying it, because sometimes random weapons are good, sometimes they're bad. A lot of times they're bad, I'll be honest. This game has a very, very bad sense of giving you something you really will hate very often, but the only reason you will use it is because it's the only good thing out of everything you have at the moment. Pretty much how everyone's kind of first legendary can be. You might think it's awesome, and then you pull it out and realize this thing is exactly the crap you hated all the other times you were using a similar weapon to this. The other thing is there's not very much variation minus color and a few little screws in the weapon sometimes when it goes up tiers. Can't go up a tier in a weapon, but it can sort of just change the name and then change a little bit of the way it looks. You really will be able to tell if the weapon is a certain type of weapon because of the ammo count, the way it looks, and just the way it sounds. Similar weapons will sound the same way. In fact, to the point where it sometimes sounds like they're recycling weapons, which is very bad for a game like Destiny. Going on to the exotic tier, where the biggest problem comes. The fact of the game is this is what's supposed to be an economy-based game where trading hubs and everything else was added. But as I said previously, half of that crap did not make it to the final build because the developers thought more about money than they did about our player base. Now, going on to the whole exotic and random loot generation system. The problem is RNG, or RNGs as you will say, and the Cryptarch are big blue bastards. They will screw you in every standpoint of this game. You are going to get a random weapon out of a random pool. That is what RNG is. It is not special for anybody. It is not good for anybody. Even though there are people online that will tell you that it's different, that you can get a special weapon if you do this. It is an RNG system, and unless you change the actual system on your game, or something similar to that, or the actual RNG system itself, you are not fixed or set for anything. It is a random system. You might just have good luck, and that's literally all it is. It has nothing to do with controls, diodes, binary code, or crap like that, unless you are specifically changing it. And trust me, if you would, everybody would have done it, because you get tired of seeing the same goddamn exotic over and over and over and over and over, and I digress. Anyway, going to back to what I was talking about. The problem is it's random, so you can get the same exotic over and over again. You can get the same legendary over and over again. Sometimes with the same bonuses, or similar bonuses, and to the point where it could be better, it could be worse, it could be just a freaking carbon copy of another weapon you just got. And it can also be a higher or a lower tier or higher tier and just be still complete jack crap. Now, that's a problem in itself, where they should be able to let you pick your own, almost like how there's a reforge option for Iron Banner now. You should be able to edit your own sort of perks for your weapon. I can see this being a problem if people souped up like Firefly and crap on their auto rifles, but at the same time, they're useful perks. I almost feel like sometimes they give you perks just to make you try to find other weapons with better perks, which is okay, but it's really bad when you look at the whole game as an overhaul, or as an overlong deal. The game should not make you want to get something other than what you like. If it looks cool, and it shoots cool, and it feels alright to fire, it should be fine to fire, or you should be able to make it fine to fire. It should not be this crappy weapon. I'm talking about you, freaking Thorn pre-buff. Thorn is actually pretty good now, but Thorn pre-buff. Or freaking weapons like, what's the one that's horrible now? Dragon's Breath, where it's a rocket launcher that we all loved at first because it had a solar flare thing to it, and it was a freaking almost flamethrower rocket launcher we all thought was going to be cool. Comes out, it's got a slow freaking velocity. It makes you want to freaking crap. By the time you have crapped, actually, it'll probably have just hit its target, and you pull up your pants, and they're still staring at you like, are you done? Yeah, it's got a very bad sort of cone, too. Not to mention the fact that the solar grenade, as big as we thought, got nerfed pre-release and now got smaller to about the size of a normal solar grenade, where it was supposed to be huge, almost covering entire rooms or hallways. Now, that in itself could have been a issue where, buffing and stuff, where people might have gotten killed by it too much, but let's put it this way. It is now a low-tier exotic. Exotics like No Land Beyond, which we even said on a video was the perfect suicide weapon because it's so long and so clunky, you could probably put the butt of the gun on the floor, put the barrel to your chin, and put your foot on the stock, your other foot on the trigger, and pull the trigger because it's pretty much used for that. I'm sure Zer has a box full of them and a box, and a bag full of body bags because of everybody he sells it to doing that after about 5 hours using the thing. It is not really that good of an exotic. I know what a lot of people will say. It can become usable after a while. It is. Jordan even says that. It is not a good exotic by any standards. It can be a good weapon, I guess you would say, if it wanted to put it at like a legendary tier. I would not mind having it there. The problem is there's a lot of exotics that they had and still have that are completely utter useless and horse crap and you should never want to use. The only reason to get said exotics is because you want the Grimoire cards to find out more about the story, which leads us back to the first part. The story is horrible because you have to look it up. It's not spoon-fed, which is okay, but it's not exactly given either way. It's not even that you're spoon-fed, you're not given anything. You have to look it up. If you're interested in it, you need to go and find it out yourself, which is okay, like for games like Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and stuff like that. But for them, they at least give you a default story to follow, something you know you're going to do, something you want to do. This gives you some carbon-pasted piece of well, we'll just leave the comments in the back. But anyway, going on to the final verdict of this game, there's probably a lot of other stuff I could have talked about, minus, the gripes and stuff. And it kind of sounds like I was dogging on the game, but honestly, I have to say I do like Destiny. I just don't like the premise, and I don't like the fact that I was cheated. I will say it over and over again. This game will cheat you in a lot of ways. If you buy it for $60 like I did, and you buy the DLCs, you were ripped off. I paid $90 for the experience, and it was not a $90 experience. Granted, I had fun, but it was not a $90 experience. I would probably pay for everything maybe $40, if not,
We hope that would be enough.
at most, and that's including DLC, at most $60. I don't even think I'd pay that much again for this crap. And I got Destiny on, and people might wonder and comment, why did you get the game? Well, remember, I pre-ordered it 2 years ago, and not to mention that I did think it was going to be a different game. Also, why would you have it on your PlayStation 4? Because the freaking PlayStation
I used to look up
White
here at
bundle
night
was
and
actually
wonder
a
what
good
the Hive were
bundle.
doing. But the
Minus
only
Destiny,
activity I could ever pick up
which
was
is
hazy.
okay. I mean,
Like
it
it was
was
blocked for
cheaper
berries.
than buying them all separately, but you know what I mean. It was just there. It was a good bundle to get anyway. And since there's no No Man's Sky bundle or Bloodborne bundle, or like another game I want to get, freaking Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate bundle, then yeah, that's the reason why I got it. Now, final verdict of this game. How is it? Like 1 out of 10. We're going to start doing 1 out of 10s. Now I'll say opinions at the end. But anyway, 1 out of 10 rating. How is it? I would honestly give it a 7 out of 10. What? You expecting something else, like some comments afterwards? Oh, yeah, I did say that. Anyway, what did I think? Yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 game. It's a fair game. In fact, it'd probably be a 6.8 or something like that, or 6.5, because it really doesn't raise the bar in terms of gameplay. It's a very, not carbon copy-pasted game, but it's a very, minimalistic game. You will probably have the same experience in a game like Battlefield if you play the online part of Battlefield. Will you get that same shooter mentality that Destiny gives? Probably not, because Destiny does have a unique style of gameplay, but it's still pretty much boring after a while without friends. You will find yourself, especially before all the patches and stuff, you would find yourself farming for like hours and hours and hours upon end for a weapon that you find out is BS and crap later. Not to mention that some of the exotics you'd get would realize they're crap. By the way, Galahorn is the best exotic, hands down. If you want to use an exotic and you don't have and you have a Galahorn, use Galahorn. Gallahorn, whatever you want to pronounce it as. It doesn't really matter. It's the freaking rocket launcher with a wolf on it. Freaking thing's awesome. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like or, comment, especially about the game, how you fared, how you liked the game, you disliked the game. Maybe something you found that I maybe missed about the game that I should point out. I might make a shout out in the comments or something about it.
Well fought.
You're here.
We haven't got much time.
Who are you?
Why have you been watching us?
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. I will. I will. I know.
Will what?
I wasn't talking to you, little light.
I'm a ghost, actually.
Many guardians fell. Strong ones. But you made it here. Yes, I'm listening. They are here. With me.
Who's she talking to?
Understood. You need my help, Guardian.
Is that why you brought us here?
They brought us here. The Vex. Evil so dark it despises other evil.
You're not a guardian.
No. I was not forged in light. But I believe where our paths cross, ground could break. Have you heard of the Black Garden?
We've heard the legends.
The greatest threat to us all lies there. Where these machines are born. Find the Black Garden. Rip out its heart. Only then will your traveler begin to heal.
Can you help us find it?
My path's my own. I can't.
If we're going to find the Black Garden, we need to see the Awoken.
Ah, yes. The Awoken. Out there wavering between the light and the dark. A side should always be taken, little light. Even if it's the wrong side. Too late returning. How many? Hold position, kill the engines, and don't let them find you.
So, how do we find the Awoken?
They live all the way out at the edge of the darkness. Last place the light touches. Can't we just stay here with the murderous robots?
No, little light.
Don't do that.